Bring it on. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei digs in his heels after Trump calls on Iran to surrender. Posting on social media, the supreme leader announced the battle begins. Ali returns to Khyber with his Zulfiqar. The references to the 7th century and the first Shia Imam, Ali, who conquered the Jewish town of Khyber by sword. Joining us with more is Gregg, executive director of the Middle East Forum. Gregg, Khamenei, his country is weakened. He's no match for the Israeli Air Force, which now has free reign over the skies of Iran. The Times of Israel reports that one Iranian official described the Ayatollah's risk of miscalculation as extremely dangerous. Now, you've been following this for years. So is he likely to surrender or try to usher in an apocalyptic end with the return of the 12th Imam, the Mahdi?
We have to look at what's happening with his background and the officers who have been advising him. The entire command and control structure of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is now gone. People who were advising him the day before the war are no longer in their place, and even their replacements are gone. The only person that's left at the top, very much alone, and even having given orders to a committee of the IRGC to run Iran in case of his demise, is now situated in such a point that in one direction he may capitulate and surrender, in the other he may decide to go all the way. But either way, I think right now he's feeling very lonely at the top, and I think his decisions will be made in such a way that's best for his preservation, not for the preservation of the Islamic Republic.
Yes, it's like calling in a security meeting and nobody shows up. There's no one in the room other than him. So Israel needs U.S. involvement, of course, to take out hard-to-reach underground nuclear enrichment facilities like the Fordo facility in Qum.
24 kilometers northeast of Qum is the Fordo fuel enrichment plant. The fuel being uranium with the capacity to be enriched to weapons-grade levels of 90%.
What we're talking about is a specific American weapon, which is 30,000-pound precision-guided bomb, and it can only be carried by the B-2 stealth bomber right now, because that's the only plane that's configured to carry such a weapon.
So what happens if the U.S. does not join Israel and provide those bunker buster bombs?
Well, Israel has in its battle plans ways in which to disrupt Fordo's operations in Qom in such a way that it can prevent access to the facility rather than to destroy the facility. We already saw this took place in Isfahan and in Natanz, where they bombed the entrances to the underground enrichment facilities, and they also bombed the areas that were providing a supply of electricity. So this notion that you have to destroy the facility by bombing it is one which is a misnomer, insofar as if you're able to cut off the power supply, the centrifuges which are running could be disrupted. And the Israelis have done this before, not using kinetic means. The Stuxnet virus back in 2012 was a way in which to indirectly damage the facility rather than destroying it outright. So it does have other options in case the United States makes the decision to not get kinetically involved.
Well, polls show that most Americans agree that Iran's nuclear program poses a security threat to the United States. However, many do not want to see the United States get involved in another protracted Middle East war. Iran warns it will respond if the U.S. joins the fight. And Iranian state television reported a surprise is coming that the world will remember for centuries. So what are they talking about, Gregg? Do they already have a nuclear bomb? How great is their retaliatory capability to harm America?
I don't trust the Iranian rhetoric and propaganda that's coming out of Tehran right now. In fact, we saw that their main broadcasting building was bombed. A symbol of the revolution's ability to try to broadcast its message is now in smithereens. But beyond that, the Iranians do have three significant retaliatory options that the U.S. should be worried about. The first, as you just mentioned, is the missile threat. The second is the unconventional threat, not just the nuclear bomb, but the potential use of a radiological or dirty bomb that can be on the top of a missile or brought in by other unconventional means. But the biggest threat that the U.S. has to worry about now with its bases overseas and also here at home is Iranian sleeper cells and their ability to wage asymmetrical warfare, the type that killed thousands of American soldiers in Iraq, and the way in which it has also used over the last 46 years to wage terror attacks against Western targets. So the U.S. doesn't just have to be on guard in the region, it also has to be on guard here at home. And that's regardless of whether the U.S. attacks Iran or not. Iran is in a position right now like a feral cat. It's going to lash out, and we don't know how it's going to happen, but we have to be on guard everywhere.
And Gregg, the son of the late Shah, Reza Pahlavi, is considered a leading candidate to lead Iran if the regime falls.
The regime's apparatus of repression is falling apart. All that is needed is popular uprising to end this nightmare once and for all. Now is the time to resist. Now is the time to reclaim Iran.
He says the time is now for an uprising, but so far it's yet to materialize. The streets of the capital, Tehran, are empty. Some Iranians I've talked to say they don't want Pahlavi and a return to the monarchy of 50 years ago. So how are the Iranian people responding to all of this?
Well, the best way for the Iranian, especially the opposition, the Iranian people and its opposition outside of the country, to connect with people inside the country is to use non-kinetic means. There are entities that exist within the country, whether it be the Bus Drivers Transportation Committee, the truck drivers that were just leading a strike for the past 2 weeks, or even local neighborhood councils, which are all able to organize on a local level. And it's not necessarily going to be the Crown Prince who has the ability to do this, even though he is a very important part of a future transition to a democratic Iran, or a government of Iran that's different from those ruled by the Ayatollahs right now. But it requires the U.S. to adopt a policy to allow those opposition groups to unify with those inside the country. And when it becomes U.S. policy to do so, I think you'll see the ability to have a controlled implosion of the regime, rather than the chaos that may result if there's not any Western guidance for that process to take place.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Gregg Roman, Middle East Forum Executive Director. Thanks, Gregg. It's always a good time talking with you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.